welcome back to the Crafternoon Podcast. I am Daisy.
My name is Meg.
Today we wanted to do a bit of a deep dive, bit of a chat on nature journaling and nature crafts and just general nature themed things that we've come across. Off the back of last week's episode where we were talking a lot about using what you have and not buying into consumerism and stuff, we thought this was a good topic to touch on. I know that Meg has been on a little Pinterest search. So
I have, yeah.
Maybe we want to
bit
start
of a
there.
rabbit hole. Yeah, bit of a rabbit hole on Pinterest, as it always is. So I was searching for just different crafts that you could do, like with different like items, like, you know, flowers, leaves, things that you'd find in nature. So I put together a Pinterest board, which we will leave linked down below if you want to check out any of the ideas that we are talking about in this episode. If you want some inspiration as well, or some ideas to try in your own art journals or just general craft projects. There's a huge variety of different things. There's all sorts on Pinterest. But I feel like we're always guilty of like pinning things and not actually doing the project. So that's why we actually wanted to try out some of these things, because there's so many great ideas and different things to try. So the things on the board, there's like pressing flowers onto like jelly plates for prints. There's shadow drawing, and there's just so many different ways that we can either use like natural things as a supply or in making of like supplies as well, like with the dyeing and stuff like that. There's so many different ways that we can use stuff.
Between us, we picked and chose some from the Pinterest board and also others that we kind of already thought about off the back of last week's episode. So yeah, I went at flowers mainly because I've been very into pressing flowers, which is kind of like a default starting point for me. I've had obviously my little flower presses. They launched recently, so I have been stacking mine full of flowers when I've gone on my walks and stuff. And yeah, that was my starting point of I definitely wanted to incorporate more physical mementos from my dog walks or from a nice walk somewhere. It's a nice way to kind of like bring a little piece home with you and know that it's going to last and not just go all crumpled up in a bag somewhere. And then one of the other ones that I did try and is kind of like in the process at the moment, so I will eventually get round to it when I feel like there's actually something that's happened, or it might not actually work. This is what we're going to find out. But I picked some, so Josh bought me some flowers from the store, which there's a few different colours in them. I didn't have enough different colours in the garden. We have green or we had yellow. So yeah, I pulled some of the purple flowers apart. And some of the orange ones as well, and I have popped them into boiling water, and I'm hoping it will create some sort of dyed water that I can use a bit like a watercolour. But yeah, that's one that I'm in the process of.
So with the flower press, have you chosen like specific flowers that are going to work best for that?
I feel like I've kind of gone at it with if it fits in the press. It's a dinky little press. That's like my first thing. If it fits, it's going in there. How it turns out in the end, to be fair, I could actually, because I've been in there a few days now.
I was going to say, how long do you have to leave them in a press like that for them to then be able to be saved in your journal or what have you?
I think it depends really on how big the flower is, or plant, because obviously you can press leaves and stuff as well. But if it's a thicker flower, obviously you're not meant to just like cram it in and then squish it down as flat as possible straight away. You're meant to put it in so that it's like secure, and then over the days as it dries out, you can tighten it a little bit more.
Okay,
so it gradually gets flattened. So obviously bigger flowers take longer. But because it is a small little press, a lot of the flowers I put in have been small flowers. But we have... Okay, this one actually turned out really nicely. It's stuck to the... I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah. Oh,
So
that's really
it's
sweet.
actually more... There's one tiny flower, and then a lot of it is the plant as well, which I do like doing that rather than picking just the flower head. I pick a little bit of the stalk and some of the leaves as well.
Yeah,
so
that's really sweet.
That one didn't take long at all, really. I know I had a bigger flower in here somewhere.
I just remembered, I feel like you sent me a Happy Mail, gosh, a while ago now, and I'm pretty sure you pressed like a big like cosmos flower.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
I was like, what size?
That.
Did you put that in a book or something? So I was like, what size flower press do you need for that?
a bigger press. Yeah, no, didn't go in this one. I've got a little collection of presses because my gran used to press flowers as well, so I inherited her flower presses, but they are like this big.
Yeah.
So,
have you still got the flowers that she pressed?
I do. So she, bless her, she put them in a little ring binder thing.
That's so
she had
sweet.
little slippery fish pockets,
Mm-hmm.
and she had a piece of watercolor paper or some sort of thicker paper in there, and then she had all of the different flowers just sat. And when I got that, I was like, this needs to be kept flat, because if I do that, they're all gonna slide down. So
Yeah.
but I
And
just don't know what to do with them. They've kept really well. The colours have definitely gone. They all end up kind of looking brown.
Oh, okay.
Which isn't,
oh, my favourite.
right, I was going to say, it's just right up your street, Meg. But yeah, it's I don't know if that's like just a time thing, or if it's how long she pressed them for, or I'm not sure. But this is kind of what I'm doing now, is trying to figure out like the different times and how best to press them and stuff. So yeah, and I don't know what to do with them really, because I don't want to get rid of them, because she spent time pressing them, and obviously she's not here anymore, so it's a really nice little like thing to inherit. I have used some on like gifts for family members and stuff, so I don't know, making a card with them or something and saying like, this was pressed by Granny. So that's nice. It's a nice way to like, what's the word, like continue the memory a little bit, or continue something of her
preservation, isn't it? Because I feel like that's a really sweet, like, she's obviously, I don't know if you can imagine, like, because you were saying about how you take that on your walk now, but it's almost like if you can imagine she's gone on her walk and she's seen a flower and thought, oh, I really want to keep that and like preserve it, and then to be able to keep that and use it in something else, or just
No, it is. It's really nice to think that she would do that. Oh, there we go. That's the bigger one that I had.
Oh, I love the colour of that.
I want to say... I know what flower this is, but I can't remember it, because I had to draw it for a work thing at some point.
Is it a cornflower?
It's not a cornflower.
It's not a cornflower. Oh, okay.
No, because that was... Wait,
told.
hold on. I found it. It's chicory. That's what this flower is. Same colour as cornflower, definitely got the cornflower blue, but yeah, it's chicory, which it comes up a lot this time of year. But again, yeah, that was a thicker flower to press, and this has been in there for like coming up a week or so. There's nothing else really left to squish out of it. So yeah, I've got a nice little variety now of pressed flowers. The issue that I'm finding now is I'm not quite sure where to put them
okay, because I was
waiting to go into the journal.
What are you going to do with them, and like how are you going to add them?
So I have this little book, which I did actually buy ages ago with the intention of putting pressed flowers into it. When I first started designing the little presses, I was like, I need to find somewhere to put them, but obviously this is where I put ones that these are going to fall because they're not stuck on there, but you can see there's some in there already just like waiting. They're the ones I took out the press so I could put these other ones in. But yeah, I kind of started to realise, I was like, this would be nice to use in my journals, like on my journal pages, rather than just pressing and putting them in here and then that being it, because I wanted to like put them in here, write a date and when they were pressed, and just have it as like a little like memory flower keep book.
Yeah, like a garden journal. Almost reminds me of the old-fashioned like scrapbooks, which there's a Easter egg teaser for something we're going to be talking about in a future episode. But yeah, the that much more documenting style of it, I suppose, because you'd probably write like, I don't know, it's a specific flower, and I went on a walk with Bonnie. It's that like memory of, because I'm always like, if I can see something like that like immediately reminds me of things, I don't necessarily have to write about them to remember. So it's quite nice to have that, like you said, that physical
it's quite a quick way
memory
of doing it as well, because it's not necessarily like, if I want to journal a day but I don't potentially have loads of photos, or I didn't take loads of photos, or I didn't pick up loads of junk. You go on a walk somewhere, I'm thinking like recently we went to a beach, and it had a nice little like nature walk to the beach, but all I have from that trip is a couple of photos. And when I put it in, because I have a journal where I keep just like those little outings and stuff that we do together, when I put that page together, I printed off one of the photos in black and white, and I made that the background, and then I added off a little bit of text from like Wikipedia, with the intention of like printing the photos off in colour and then just adding them on top. But obviously if I had thought about it and picked a leaf or a cute little flower or something that was there, I would have that to add to it as well, which would have been really nice, and I just didn't think to do it. But yeah, now I've got this, and like it makes it a bit more I don't know, personal when you have something like a memento. Like that's the whole point that we pick up things, is it's we collect the junk because it's like a tactile memory of the moment.
I really like how you mentioned there about the printing off the photo in black and white and using it as a background, and kind of turning, so obviously you can press the flowers and keep them as well. But one of the things that I did, because I was looking at like nature color palettes as one of my little projects, which is something I've been doing a lot with color palettes with my newsletter that I've been doing anyway. So I feel like I'm sort of always on the lookout for different colors at the minute. Tuned in. But yeah, and so I went through my camera roll and also took some extra pictures of different like flowers and things like that, because I use loads of flowers in my stuff as well. And what I actually did was I turned them into little stickers. So nothing too fancy, like when you just use the sticker function on your phone to crop an image. And so I've just printed them on just some sticker paper here. So I've got them ready to use in my journal. So obviously pressed flower is better, but I suppose this keeps the true colour of the flower. So I'll be able to cut these out and include, and they don't go brown. So you could probably do both. You could probably have the picture of the actual flower, and then it pressed next to it, and you'd get both.
After.
Yeah, because obviously they wouldn't stay bright pink, would they? But no. Yeah, it was just really easy to just like tap and make the little sticker. Like, I'm not that tech savvy, but I was able to just make those. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to cutting those out and just using my own little like stickers of like these. Are you gonna fussy cut them? Of course. And then these will be like, you know, actual flowers from my garden, or honestly some of them are from the garden centre because they've got nice flowers too. Whenever I visit, I just like, oh, let me take a picture of that. Like that's really nice. So I think
you
like,
can't steal the flowers from a garden centre.
No, but you can take a picture. Like I think the dahlias.
There we go.
Are not mine. They're courtesy of the garden centre. But I've done it in a journal here. I can show you. So where is it? So obviously I use like a lot of cutouts from like botanical books and things like that. But I think it's just really nice to be able to have like your own flowers and use them within a journal page. And I know I was showing this to you before, Daisy, and you were like, oh my god, they're like the colour.
I've never seen so much colour in a Meg journal.
I know,
crazy.
But it's a really nice pop. So I did it as like a off the edge of the page as well with the fussy cutting.
I love that.
So yeah, there's a nice way to actually use your own photos of nature within your journals. If you've got flowers or like leaves, things like that, if you don't want to press them, you can also take pictures of them, cut them out like that, and include them in your journal as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to cutting those stickers out. And you were mentioning about dyeing the flowers and using the actual colour from them.
Yeah, like, so instead of using like the physical flower, it's more basically adding boiling water to them and hoping that some of the pigment of the flower comes out into the water. And then the plan is to then, you know, dip into the water or strain the flowers to be left with some sort of watercolor wash that I can use as like background or just for like little bits of detail or something. But I don't know how it's going to go yet. Like I did a little bit of research on it. I looked up some YouTube videos and had a Google on like the best way to do it. But the advice I kind of got was it's a bit of trial and error. So different flowers might take different lengths of time to get the pigment out. Different amounts of water mean you'll get different like opacity of ink. I don't really know what you would call it. Flower juice.
It's like
I don't know.
Flower juice.
Yeah, like
I think it's an eco dye.
There we go.
So we'll call it flower juice.
Meg's got the word for it. But yeah, no, because this is what it feels like I'm doing though, because I've put the flowers into the water and I'm like mixing them around with the
like a potion
and stuff, and like
you
yeah,
made when you were a kid.
I feel like I'm back to the mud kitchen from when I was like a kid, you know. Is that sort of vibe. So it's quite a fun one to do, but I'm not necessarily apprehensive about how it's going to work because I know it can be done. But it's like this morning I was looking at them and I was like, is there colour coming out or am I just seeing things? It's that sort of thing. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time for them to fully like just juice into the water basically.
And by the sounds of what you were saying before we started recording as well, it's a good job that even though we're doing video on the podcast this time, that you can't smell what's coming from.
Yeah, I'm not a tea drinker in the slightest. Tea, coffee, any sort of drink that has a scent to it.
Okay.
I'm not a fan. I stick to water and orange juice is my go-to. So I have 4 mugs of boiling flowers and it stinks in here of like herbal tea vibes, and it's not my favourite, I'll be honest. It could be worse, but it could be definitely better. And each of the flowers definitely smell different too when you boil them. They've all got a different like twang.
And have you had comments of like, what's going on here?
Not yet, but I'm sure I will. Josh is yet to come home and see them all sat here properly. I did mention I was doing it at some point.
Okay, pre-warning, yeah.
You know, I've not told him that I've used the flowers he bought me. I've absolutely decapitated them. Sorry, Josh, if you're listening to this. I did wait for them to droop a bit and like be a little.
You didn't just go straight in like I need this in my junk journal.
Exactly.
Sorry.
He didn't come home with them and me be like, right, cool, rip the heads off. It wasn't like that. Yeah, I did wait for a couple of them to start like drooping, so I knew they're kind of on the way out. And I feel like I should take out the ones that are decapitated because I just left the stalks in there. So I feel like it might make them look a little nicer if I take those ones out. But you know, it's all for the sake of art, right? It's yeah, it's an experiment.
I know people do like avocado dyes and onions with like the skins. Have you seen that?
Oh,
it always intrigues me,
like
but I'm just like, beetroot,
well.
like the colours look really pretty, like the sort of purpley, pinky colours.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's a bit too much mess even for me.
Well,
for all that.
Don't they say like beetroot's got a very intense dye? Like you can dye clothes with it. So.
Oh, can you? Okay, like fabric.
Like I feel like I've seen people do tie dyeing, but with
like a natural dye.
Yeah. And you see people like with red hands, or like pinky red, purpley hands, because it's quite an intense color. Yeah, I don't think these flowers are going to do that. I don't think they're very colourful, but I don't think they're going to like dye my hands particularly. So I'm hoping, if anything, I can get a kind of like background wash of colour with them. the colours I have from the flowers is purple, yellow, orange, and green. I'm most skeptical about the green because as much as the flowers were green, like the petals were green, I just don't think there's much
green
colour
flowers.
in them.
Is that the ones where they dye the flower?
I don't actually know. This is the other thing. I don't know which ones of these have been like pre-dyed because they're quite bright.
Because you know when I was gonna say, you know when you see the flowers and they're kind of like not neon-y, but they've clearly not come from nature that colour.
Like blue flowers.
Blue flowers.
Yeah, no, the green ones, I think I don't know. They're from Tesco, so. But yeah, it's like a faint green, and I just imagine them not being too colourful, like the colour not coming out of them quite as much as, say, the purple ones, which are very purple. So there's obviously a lot of colour in them. But yeah, I think the other way that I've seen people obviously using flowers to get the colour out of them is whacking them with a hammer. But
I saw that on my Pinterest deep dive. There's one, I think I saved it on the board actually, and they didn't have flowers, but they had leaves, and they put the leaves on the paper and got like, I'm assuming a bit of like plastic or something on top, and then they were whacking it with a hammer.
So those were the ones that I've given a go, or I'm in the process of giving a go. I know that you had one more.
Yeah, so I really like the idea of doing the shadow drawings, where you pick a flower or a leaf or what have you, and you obviously hold it up in the sun and you get the shadow from that, and then you sort of draw around that. So I will be inserting some clips of me actually doing that, and I kind of did it like holding the flower and then drawing just on the wall. Well, not on the wall, but like I pinned the paper up on the wall, and
She's
then
a graffiti artist now.
Yeah. So because you could probably put it in like a vase or something like that, so it's like still whilst you're drawing it. So it wasn't particularly like 100% like accurate, but I quite liked the looseness of the line that it gave, and how I was able to get like something a bit more abstract. So I did it on a few different surfaces. I did it on book paper, and I also did it on tissue paper, or like sort of really thin tracing paper. So there was a lot of texture to it, and I used just a pencil, but then I was like, can't really see the pencil, even though it turned out all right on the tracing paper, but you couldn't really see it that well. So I also came in with, I think it was like a Tombow brush pen to actually make the lines a bit more visible. So I've got these little, like, I don't know, it's like super like scribbly freehand little drawings, but the way that I've then been actually using them is to use them as like backgrounds. So you could definitely probably use these as bases if you wanted to then like go in and probably paint or like colour around them and stuff. But I think it's just a really nice
watercolour like in combination, because watercolour's quite soft and you've got kind of like more texture with that. It would be like a nice little combo.
It was just really nice to get, like, have that like loose line and not be so, because like when I've done like drawings of flowers or anything like that before, obviously it just turns out quite like rigid almost. So it's quite nice to sort of, let go of that control over the line a little bit, and do something like that. So I did one on the tissue paper like I mentioned, and I've actually put it into a journal page and started working on it. So what I did was,
it's already in the journal, it's in.
So similar to, I suppose, what you were mentioning before, when you took the picture, made it black and white and made it like a background. So what I've done is I've used this piece as a background piece. So what I've done is then collaged on top of it. It's very like abstract, but it's just really nice to have as a bit of interest, and I don't know, it's quite nice that it was like the actual flowers themselves have kind of like translated into the background piece. So then I've just done a little collage here, sort of inspired by the colours that were in the flowers and things. A little bit more abstract.
Like the fact that it's come from an actual flower rather than just like a generic shape that is mass produced. It's that sort of like, it's your flowers, it's your sketch, it's your, like, it's come from that moment that you did the shadow drawing.
Yeah, and I think the pencil was 4B, so what I did do was I sprayed some like pastel fixative over the top, because I'll show in like proper clips, but it's like quite like textured and like smudgy, but obviously I didn't want it to smudge all over my journal.
Yeah.
So I've kind of sealed it, so it's a little bit like shiny on the surface. I don't know if that's quite showing up, but yeah, it made a really nice background, a bit more minimalist, a bit more abstract, so not like, you know, the aim wasn't to like make it look like an actual proper flower sort of thing. It's just that like process of, yeah, I suppose the abstract loose lines, which is something I've been trying to do a lot in my art journals anyway, so it's definitely something that I want to maybe try some more of, and just, yeah, have it as that, like, it's almost a bit like a warm-up exercise almost, to be able to do that sort of line work and like, yeah, let go a little bit and be more sort of free with it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, did you have any other mediums in mind that you wanted to try using with it? Because you said pencil, and then you used one that was a little more like gave more texture and stuff, but is there any other mediums? Because I was thinking pastels might work in a similar sort of
pastels
way.
Or probably like neo colors would work quite nicely, like more of a crayon. Or even, I didn't know how it would show up, but like maybe like if I had craft paper and like a white pen, perhaps.
Good old white
really
pen.
Cool. Good old white pen and craft paper. That might be one I have to try, because I do really love that in my journals anyway. Because I did one sort of similar in my accordion journal, but this was more like just tracing. I don't know if that's even going to show up, but yeah, but I'm imagining like that, but obviously traced from the shadows. Could be quite nice. Maybe ink, but I'd have to obviously have it on you know, on the floor or on my desk or something, not pinned up on the wall, because that was the other thing, having it.
Maybe the drips would be quite cool though.
Yeah, it'd probably be a bit messy though, but I think that was the other thing, because I was doing it like washi taped piece of paper to the wall. That really helped to like keep it nice and loose. So yeah, I think those could look quite nice. Yeah, it was quite a fun little exercise.
And we've had plenty of sun, so that
we
helps too.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones that if you're gonna give it a go, probably the sunnier days is when to take advantage of it, because it's gonna be a little hard in the winter.
Yeah, but you could probably use like a lamp or some sort of light source to cast the shadows.
These little things that we're trying, even if you're not using them in a journaling page straight away, they're still nice little things to do in themselves, like as a single little hobby or like a little activity to do. So I think that's one of the things that I found from these that we've been exploring.
Yeah, just doing like the crafts, I suppose, because I know we mentioned we didn't want to do like specifically like just all journaling on the podcast, so we wanted to talk about other like crafts that we can do as well. And I know you mentioned about mark making. I think you wanted to try.
This is one that I've not yet tried, but it is definitely on the cards, because I feel like I do it anyway with my art supplies. So whether it's pastels, whether it's paint, whether it's just a pen, I will like add patterns or add little marks and scribbly bits and stuff in the backgrounds of my pages. So the thought of doing that with things like sticks and leaves and stones, anything that I can kind of find in nature, really intrigues me, because I'm surrounded by stuff like that, and obviously I have all the different like art mediums to try them with, so paints and inks and stuff. So I feel like it would be quite a simple but nice way to incorporate, again, like if I was going on a walk, or if I went somewhere, if I picked up a stone, or if I picked up a cool stick. It makes me sound like the most amazing person ever, right? I'm the coolest person with my cool stick. But it is that. It's like, you know, it's another way of bringing a memento home.
You don't have to stick the stick in your journal.
Exactly. Like, I don't have to stick that stick and it doesn't like bulk it out, I still have the like memory of being like, oh, those little like scribbles and little doodles and stuff were done using the stick.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna forget that. So yeah, it's just I feel like it's a nice way to incorporate the moment in another creative way, really. And I feel like
that with
sorry,
the stick,
go on, there you go.
No, just because you reminded me with the stick saying like not to put it in your journal, but it did remind me when I was in school there was a project and we had to bind a book and it was all like a nature theme. I don't have it with me now. I don't think I kept it, to be honest. But I distinctly remember I made it out of like cardboard and we had to like put like, you know, pictures in and pressed leaves and stuff like that. But the binding was string and then a stick. Like I'd literally just used the stick as the binding.
So hang on a minute. Together. You're telling me that you've been binding journals for a lot longer than you say you've been. This is what we're finding out.
Yeah, I seem to remember it being like a project in school. I must have been like 14, 15. Yeah. And it was literally like cardboard and I'm sure we hole punched it and then like tied it with string, but then you like tied the string around the stick to kind of like make that part of it. I wish I still had it to be able to show because I distinctly remember this like I don't know if it was a journal, it was like a kind of visual like scrapbook physical Pinterest board almost. So there is probably a way that you can bind and make a whole journal with just nature stuff and do your mark making with nature stuff and the physical dyes and
maybe
the
that's
pressed
a little
flowers
challenge that we should do.
Seeing how much you can actually
just kind of go at it with everything nature and see what we come out with, see how much colour we come out with, because I feel like that's what I'm learning is there's a lot of colour in nature, but keeping that colour is
there's something so poetic there about us trying to like the writer in me is like you know, like savouring it and trying to like document it before, because obviously you have like the seasons, don't you, where it just like where we are at the minute, we've got the back end of summer with all the like flowers and things, you know, everything's quite colourful at the minute, like I've got loads of marigolds and things like that, but as we go into autumn we'll have obviously all of the nice like reds and oranges of the leaves, which I don't know about you, that's my favourite season, so I'm kind of excited to do. I'm
in the middle of that. I like spring or autumn. It's that sort of the middle, but I think that's because of the temperature.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I think that's where I base it mainly on. One of my favourite things to do in autumn is go on dog walks down the woods because the colours are just incredible. There are so many different leaves and obviously all the different trees kind of go through the colours at different stages, so you might have like a mix of like yellows and greens and then some reds, and it eventually gets more brown, and it's different every time we go down there, so I'm looking forward to that, definitely. But trying to find a way to keep them reds, I'm gonna give it a go, but yeah, I feel like they might all just go brown in the end of it.
So you're going to try some mark making, and we'll probably put some clips if you have any as like a little update of that project.
Hi, I am jumping in to give a little update on how the flower watercolours went. These were the flowers that I began with, and as you can see they're really bright, so I was quite hopeful at this point. I filled some mugs with boiling water and then ripped off the petals and dunked them into the water. I gave each of them a good stir and left them to sit for a couple of days, and when I came back to them I was again hopeful that some of the colour had detached itself from the petals. The water looked like it had been dyed and it wasn't coming from just the reflection of the petals that were still in there. I went ahead and dipped my paintbrush in, but as you can see it was a no-go. There just wasn't any colour coming out, so I decided to grab some of the petals that looked like there was still some colour in them and I rubbed them straight onto the page, but again it really didn't give much colour at all. I've since googled some other ways to try this method, but if you guys do have any tips or tricks on how to make this work, or if you've tried it yourself already, please leave them in the comments. I'd really appreciate it, because I want to try and crack this, because I think it would be a really fun way to kind of like document my garden in the summertime as well. in my journal. The other technique I wanted to try was mark making. So for this I went around my garden and found a few things that looked as though they'd make for some fun marks on my page. I'm going to be putting together the final page in these next clips, so you'll be able to see my process from the blank page to the one I created using various techniques and methods that we've spoken about in this podcast. I took the flowers out of the press and they looked really good. I wanted to kind of gauge sort of colour scheme for the page, so this was a good place to start. Alongside colour, I did also want to try and get some texture on the background as well, so I began a bit of trial and error with my ink pads. I'm not sure if it was my inks or the craft paper, but the coloured inks were just not really doing much at all, so I decided to kind of just put that to one side and focus on getting some sort of texture down. The black ink pad did work and I got a few different sorts of marks down on the page. I did some with the leaf and I did some with the tree bark. I then decided to pull out my watercolours and I created some not so watered down colours for me to give a go, and it worked really well. The tree bark picked it up really well and then made some really nice little prints with it. So I've got some little dotty lines on there that I was really happy with, and then I also managed to get some yellow down on the page as well, because I wanted that to be a bit of a pop of colour because the flowers weren't really very yellow. The yellow of the middle of the daisies kind of disappeared a bit. With this stick, I managed to make it almost like a pen. I just snapped it in half and it happened to snap really perfectly for what I wanted to use it for, and that allowed me to make some little bumpy patterns on the page as well. When it came to sticking the flowers to the page, I just went in with Pritt Stick. I know that this isn't always ideal, especially if you're planning to draw on top of the page or add more details with pen. Pritt Stick, once it dries, doesn't really leave a surface that's writable, so that's something to consider if you're doing this. But for me, I'd done all the additions of ink that I needed on this page, so it didn't really matter to me as long as obviously I waited for it to dry fully before I closed the book. There was no issues. One of the other ways you can glue pressed flowers down is with PVA glue, just like a tiny dot. You don't want to go too overboard with that, but it is a really strong adhesive and you can be quite direct with it if you use a cocktail stick or a earbud or something to apply it. Once I stuck down the flowers where I wanted them on the page, I then went through some of my letters and stuck down the word always, and I used this phrase sticker that says counting my lucky stars, because I thought it was just a nice little sentiment to add to the page, so it says always counting my lucky stars. The very last thing I did to this page was go back in with my little stick pen thing. I dipped it in some black ink and I just outlined some of the letters and the phrase stickers just to kind of emphasize them a bit more and make sure that they are like their own thing on the page. And that was it. That was my page. Hopefully it's given you a few ideas, but for now I'm going to pass you back over to Meg so she can share her final technique with you.
I really want to try the jelly printing and like having the presses in paint and stuff, which I did try a little bit of. I'll pop a clip on the screen, but I didn't have great success with it. It didn't turn out amazing. But it's all about the practice, isn't it? And like you were saying before, it's all about doing these little crafts and things, and they don't necessarily all have to go anywhere. It's all just about being creative.
Trial and error.
And yeah, trial and error as well. So if there's any nature-inspired crafts that you've tried or ideas, let us know down below in the comments. We'd love to hear the things that you've been up to. So yeah, let us know in the comments projects that you've tried, or maybe if you're inspired to try any of the ones that we've talked about in this episode. Thank you so much for joining us for another Crafternoon, and we will see you in the next one. Bye!